Good evening, good evening. Hello to my dear future forward females. I am super excited to welcome you to this episode of our series of conversations towards the Future Forward Female 25 Under 25 Awards. We've been interviewing phenomenal women who are doing great things in their various fields, and tonight is another inspiring conversation, but we're just going to wait for more future forward females to come on board. And I just want you to use out this first few minutes to invite your friends, your family, and just anyone you know that needs to be at this IG Live right now. Welcome Bobo Fuloa. Welcome Natalie King. Welcome Stephanie. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for joining. Okay, so we're having a very phenomenal young woman today, Aramide Kayode, and I know that this is going to be such an inspirational conversation. Aramide is the Executive Director of Talent Mice Academy, which is a school that provides 12 years of fully funded education, high quality education, emphasis on that, high quality education to children in low income communities. And Aramide has a first class in economics from Covenant University, and she's also a graduate of Harvard University. Yes, I said that right, Harvard University. And she's a co-author of the book Dare to Learn, which she wrote with the famous Nobel Prize winner Malala and 25 other young women around the world. And I know that today's conversation is going to be amazing. I can't wait to bring Aramide up. I'd like to see your excitement in the comment section. Welcome Shadex, it's so good to have you here. Welcome Stephanie, it's so good to have you here. Welcome. I don't think Aramide is here yet. So let's just take advantage of this moment. Please invite someone, share this on your various social media platforms. We need more young women to be in this conversation because these are insights that are really going to be a guiding light in helping you work towards your dream as a young, phenomenal woman. Welcome, the purposeful lady. It's so good to have you. Welcome, Beulah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so we're just going to take a few moments to wait for Aramide to come on board. Yes, that's her right there. Welcome, Aramide. I'm just going to go ahead to send a request for you to join the live right now. So we'll be having Aramide come on board anytime soon. I want to see your excitement in the comment section. Tell us what you're looking forward to tonight. Aramide, have you been able to see the invite? Okay, I wonder what's happening. So tonight we're going to be having our conversation on the theme of being young and impactful. Aramide is someone who embodies this right here. She has done a lot of phenomenal things in just a short time, and that is one of the reasons why we have her here, because we've been showing a spotlight on African women, young African women from ages 16 to 24 who are doing great and phenomenal things. And the women we've been interviewing in this IGE Live are women who embody what the future forward female is about in the context of the 25 under 25 awards. For some reason, Aramide isn't able to join. Aramide, if you're on here, I think you should send a request instead. Maybe that would work. Okay, she's not here. Oh, thank you, Brian. Stephanie says she's looking forward to another level of transformation. That's right. That's the spirit right there. Okay, so Aramide is back on board. Aramide, please, if you can send a request, I think maybe that would work instead. For some reason, you're not able to accept the invite I'm sending. Thank. Welcome, Rebecca. Good to have you. Good.
Oh my God.
Evening.
Sorry, my internet has been giving me bad boost today.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I understand.
Hi, everybody.
It's so good to have you today. You look great.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, I've been looking forward to this conversation because you are someone who truly inspires me. You've done a lot of inspiring things, and it's obvious to see that this comes from a place of great and genuine passion for transforming lives and transforming the world around you. And I think one of the things I want to start with is you graduated with a first class from economics, right? And you went ahead to get a degree in education from Harvard. Like, that is phenomenal. And I would like to know, how did that transition happen? Because you got a first class in economics, and one would expect that, oh, she's really good in this area, she would stick with it. But how did you make that transition from economics to education? And have you always known that education was what you were passionate about?
So I think that the whole journey started from 200 level. So in economics,
Wow.
there's actually education in economics, and
Oh,
it's
okay,
funny
wow.
how someone is saying they can't hear. Is it me you can't hear? Okay, please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Okay,
I'll
so
try to be as audible.
I can hear Aramide.
Okay.
Is this
Can
a
you hear me
problem
clearly?
that others are experiencing? Can I sit in the comment section if you can't hear? Okay,
Probably
Slaves,
network.
I think you might have to check your network connection. It's probably a specific problem you're experiencing.
Okay, so I'll just go ahead. Thank you. So I think it all started. So there's a lot of people don't know that there's actually economics. There's actually education in economics, right?
Oh, wow.
And there's a part of economics that talks about like human capital development, and the whole aim of that being there is that we are dealing with the growth and development of an economy, and so there's a linkage between education, investing in human capital, and how it has the ability to improve the economy in the long run if you invest in the people, basically. So in 200 level, I started learning about human capital development, and it was just a normal economics course. I enjoyed the course, definitely. And then I remember when I got to 400 level, I'm about to graduate at the time. So I went to Coventry University, and in final year, after you finish your project and you're about to graduate, we always do like a 2-week leadership development course, DLD. And I remember, sorry, TTG. So I remember during TTG one time, someone just came to meet me that, oh, have you heard about these Kaduna teachers? They wrote Premi 4 tests, they did not pass it. I'm like, okay, I've not heard. So it was using his iPad, so it just showed me the news flash on his iPad, and I mean, I saw the scripts. It was bad. Like, we had teachers who were meant to be teaching these children, primary school teachers who were meant to be teaching these children basic things. They couldn't even write singular and plural. And so the only thing that was going on in my head at the time was, if this is what the teachers are doing, then what exactly is happening with the children? If the teachers are getting this kind of results, then what kind of results are we expecting the children to get? And it was at that point, I mean, when I was looking at it, I didn't even know when I started crying, because the only thing that was going on in my head is what's happening in the classroom. And I didn't know about, I didn't even know, I mean, it was shocking to me, because, you know, by the grace of God, I was privileged to attend private schools. So I didn't know that, first of all, there are a lot of children sitting in a public school classroom, and there's that dearth of teacher quality. I didn't know that there was this gap. And so after I learned about it, I started reading more about education in Nigeria and in the world in general. And as I kept reading about education, I stumbled upon Teach for Nigeria, which is a teaching fellowship where you teach in a rural community for a 2-year period. And I got into the program after I applied. And I got to my classroom for the first time, and there were 74 children in one classroom. And, you know, that was crazy enough. And I started teaching the children. I had, you know, in my primary 2 classroom, I had ages 6, and I had a 16-year-old in my class. So the age range was from 6 to 16. And 90% of the children that I had in my own classroom could not even read at that grade 2 level. And so see me thinking that, okay, the Nigerian education system is so poor. Like, why is there so much low quality in this classroom? And, you know, at the time, with that 74 children, before I joined the teacher that was there, it was just one teacher that was going to attend to all 74 of them and take all the subjects. And so it was crazy. I could not believe it, right? But I started teaching the children. I almost wanted to run back to my friend's house, but I continued teaching the children. And then I remember one particular day after teaching, I wanted to, you know, take a stretch walk. I was walking in the community where I taught. So I was posted to a rural community in Otta. And I was taking a walk in a community when, you know, I met some children on the road while school was going on. And I was wondering why they were there. So I remember asking them, you know, why are you here? Why are you not in school? And they said to me, they said it in Yoruba, but I'll say it in English, that their mommy doesn't have money. And, you know, at the time, the public school fees was 1,200 naira, right? But these families could not even afford to pay that tuition over a 3-month period. And the payment was so flexible that you can literally pay, like, if you can make 15 naira per day or 20 naira per day, that was fine. But this was a lot for these families to pay. And I remember just saying that, okay, if I did Saturday lessons for you, would you come? And they said yes. They were so excited that day. And I remember, you know, opening up my classrooms on Saturday. I started teaching the children in class one Saturday at a time. And, you know, at some point, I just realized that the way we have top schools in Nigeria that are open to, you know, the children that can actually afford it. But we have very little schools that are open at no cost or very, 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 very little cost to these children that they can actually afford it. And so I thought about it that, okay, why not start something for the children? At the time, I taught them for 6 months, and they had improved by 30% in their literacy rate. So I knew that, okay, this was something good that was going, and this is something that if it was sustainable, then there'll be a means of learning, and there'll be a means for these children to access quality education. And so from then, we translated to having scholarship program to these children. And then we now moved to a point where the scholarship program was now, instead of 1 term or 1 year, it was now ranging for a 12-year period. So the children that we have right now, they have scholarships that cover not just their primary education, but also secondary education, and then definitely getting access to high-quality education. But then how did I get to a point where I was like, okay, moving from that, you know, young graduates from university who was feeling very pained about catching out teachers and all of that, to now saying that, okay, I want to do a master's program. I remember that after I taught, you know, started my nonprofit Talent Mind in 2019. After a while, I noticed that, you know, the thing about working with children and the thing about working in education is that I think even in every other field, you can't give what you don't have. And so if you don't improve yourself, then you can't really deliver the kind of vision that you really, really have in your head if you don't have the competence and the skills and the expertise and exposure that you need to deliver it. And so I realized at that point that all the learnings I had, all the experiences that I had, and the skills that I had were limited. And so I really wanted to upskill. And I knew that a master's program was the best for me at the time, because I also needed a certification in education to work in this sector. And so I started searching for a master's program, majorly in teaching and learning. And it's not like I targeted that, oh, I want to get into Harvard. I never actually targeted it. But then the truth is that before then, and this is just a side note, that's why it's very important that you're always surrounded with the right people, right? And you always have the right people who can show you what you're not seeing and show you a side of yourself that you probably cannot see and would never have seen. And I remember that when I joined Teach for Nigeria in 2018, I remember the lady who recruited me, who had the recruitment now, she's now a board member at Talent Mind, Choma. I remember her coming to meet me that day, that Aramide, I think you can get into Harvard. And in my head, I'm like, please, oh, auntie, please, I'm not interested. Like, in my head, it was just like, okay, what's she seeing? Like, why is she asking me to go and apply to Harvard? Like, you don't even tell me to go and apply to.
Why were you skeptical?
I was just graduating, I was just graduating from CU at the time. So I didn't have any experience or anything. Somebody's coming to ask me to apply to Harvard. So in my head, I'm like, okay. And she just kept saying it. I think you will get in. I think you will get. And she was not joking. Like, she was serious. I think you will get in. And so I'm like, okay, when the time comes, when I have need for it, I'll definitely consider it. And so in 2019, when it was time for me to say, okay, I want to apply for my master's program, and this was a coincidence, I said, okay, I'm going to apply for a teaching and learning class, because I knew that I was still going to be with children. I know that there's some people that when they get education experience, they are probably targeting, okay, they are going to work in policy, they are not going to work in the classroom or at the grassroots, and that's fine, right? But they know that that's where they are going to be. But me, I knew that I would still be at the intersection of the community, the grassroots, the children, at least for the meantime. And so I knew that I needed something that can help me design quality learning for these children, because that's what I really, really wanted to do. And when I searched teaching and learning masters, it was Harvard that just popped up. Oxford popped up as well. But Oxford's zone was a part-time, and I didn't want to do a part-time thing. I wanted to just do it heads on, like once and for all, and get over it. And so it was only Harvard that popped up. So it was just a coincidence that, okay, somebody was pushing me to apply to Harvard, but then because I wanted to study, it was only Harvard that was offering it. And I remember at the time that, okay, I already had experience teaching in my classroom. I already had results from the children that I taught. And so I knew that, okay, if I can just put my application together and let them see that, this person is one getting into the school.
There's no
then
I'll have you trying.
And so I put in my application, and I remember after putting in my application, I put my application in January, and by March I got it back to me with an admission letter.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was how I found myself there.
So what did you think stood out about you that you got an acceptance into Harvard?
So I think that, the major thing that stood out, and something I like to tell everyone, is that whatever is worth doing is worth doing well, right? So if you're doing something, even if it's not convenient for you at the time, just give it your best, because you really don't know where that thing is going to come calling. So for now, we've been able to start a school for the children that we work with, and I'd worked in a school for 2 years, and I was telling some of the teachers that I work with and some of my team members that, oh my God, imagine if when I was working in that school, I was taking initiative, and I was literally everywhere trying to make sure that the school was working and the children in my classroom were learning. Yeah. And so I was literally everywhere, learning a lot, observing a lot. And I never knew that I was going to start a school. I was just doing my best at that point. But now that I've now started a school, even at the time, the kind of relationship that I fostered, yesterday, I went to visit one of the public school leaders in one of the schools, and we were just having a conversation. And coincidentally, I also met a teacher that was in that school where I was teaching. And she was just saying to me that, oh my God, that she sees my post, and she was just so happy. And she collected my phone number, that she's happy to connect and support in any way that she can. And at the time, I did not know that putting my best in my work and, being observant, being open to learning, building the relationship at the time was going to help me at this point. So I think that the major thing that helped me get in, or the major thing that helped me to even have a story to tell, was because I did the remarkable work. And so you can't come out with a remarkable application and tell a remarkable story except you have put in a remarkable work and you now have results from that work. So it was me putting in my best and being faithful at the time as a Teach for Nigeria fellow. And I always say that at the time, it's not like it was convenient for me because I moved in from my parents' house. My parents stayed in Lagos, so I moved all the way to Otta. And I remember when I moved in, I was not comfortable because, I had to get an apartment, but then there were cats and rats and mosquitoes, and sometimes there were just a lot of
a brave move.
And so it was not like 100% convenient for me. But I knew that at this point, I just had 2 years here, right? I had economics degree. So if this thing did not work out, I'll just go and clean my CV and clean my certificate. Go back.
Good job with your first class.
Get an investment banking job and all of that. But I knew that I just had 2 years there. So I don't want to waste my time, staying in this classroom and doing like mediocre stuff when I can actually be the best teacher that I could be at the time with the knowledge that I had. And so I just it wasn't.
And then you get plan B.
So I just knew that I had to put in my best, and it was because I put in my best that I now had results that I could use to apply. And so if I had not put in my best, I would not have had any remarkable story to tell about the work that I had done. And so I would say that a summary of getting in and getting to Harvard is being faithful. If you're faithful in what you're doing, then you're going to have remarkable results based on, the inputs that you've put in, and now you can now have a good story to tell.
Wow. This is so inspiring. And one thing I really love about your story is that it shows that the journey to finding your path sometimes is not that complicated. It's as simple as recognizing a unique problem around you and saying, I'm going to be the one to solve this problem. And I like that you didn't just stop at recognition, because most times what we do is we see a problem and we keep complaining about it, expecting that somebody else will go out there and change it. But I love the fact that you stood up to the occasion. You said, this is something that I am going to address. And I feel like this is something that I've seen consistent in your life. Once you have an idea, you go for it. There's no hesitating. No matter how daunting or difficult it seems, you go for it. And I know that starting Talent Mind Academy must have been a very, very huge project for you. And I just want to know how was the process of conceiving that idea and then going out there to making it a reality? Because I know that there are lots of young women right here who have ideas. They have big ideas, they have big solutions to problems around them, but they just feel, oh, I'm still too young, this seems beyond me, and how am I going to start? How am I even going to actualize this? Maybe I should give him more time. So how did you come to that point where you knew that I need to step out and actualize this idea that I have about forming Talent Mind Academy?
Yes, so I'll say that I think the foundation about starting something, especially a vision that you sense that God has laid in your heart, is starting small and starting with what you can see. Right? It's starting with what you can see. If God gives us a vision, He's giving us a big vision. But when He's giving it to us, He's going to give us a small step. And so if you use that small step to judge the entire thing, then you think there's only that small step and you think that's probably insignificant. But then when you look at it from His own, or when God is looking at it, He's seeing something very big.
Wow.
Right? He's seeing something very big. And so for me, I think the whole idea of Talent Mind is a testament to how important it is to start small. And the thing is that when you start, you will not have it all together, right? You will not have it all together, but it's fine. Right now I mentioned that we've transitioned to our own school, right? And I on the launch, I was doing a reflection of our journey. And I remember, when I met those children that day on the road, it was so painful for me because, I mentioned that I was able to access private education. So I never had to attend a public school. And I thank God for my parents, right, and the support that they always give to us, right? But I never had to attend a public school. And so it was, being a part of being someone that's attended private schools and attended very top quality private schools, I know how much education has changed my own life, right? So the only thing that was going on in my head was, oh my God, so the kind of transformation that I've been able to get because of education, these children don't have access to it. And the only thing determining that is not because they said I don't want to, or because they are stubborn, or because they are playing trancy, or because of anything, but because of the person, the mother and the father that gave birth to them, because of the condition and the economic status of that person.
Yes.
That thing has excluded them from the life transformation that quality education has given to me. And so that was the pain point in my head, that why, like how? And I knew that there was something that I could do about it, but I didn't have a school. I didn't even have, there was no journal, there was no sponsor, there was no volunteer, there was nothing. It was just me and those children. But I had one thing. I was a teacher. It was not even a whiteboard, it was a blackboard with chalk. I had a blackboard and I had a chalk. I knew 1, 2, 3, I knew ABC, I knew addition and subtraction. What else do I need? I have everything I needed to start at the time.
Have everything you need.
And so I told them, on Saturdays, I don't used to go for parties. I don't have a lot of parties on my schedule. So if I do lesson for you on Saturday, you come? And they said yes. I said, okay, we have everything we need. At the time, I was earning a stipend, so it was not difficult to buy them biscuits. And I would tell them that when you come, we'll give you biscuit and pure water. And they would come. And so I started in my classroom with my blackboard and my white chalk. And I would write it. I remember when I write, finish all my face, my hand, my body, everything.
This is true passion.
Everything would be dusty. But then I enjoyed it. Right. And I knew that it was a vision that was expansive. Because I knew that it was not something that I feel like I know that the zeal and the passion, it was not something that I intellectually cooked up. I believe that it's something that God literally laid in my heart and placed that burden for. Yeah. And so I started teaching them, just in that condition. And I was taking them every time. And the thing is that when you start, you have the stuff. So the results will come because you have the stuff. And so I started teaching them, and like 6 months after, their literacy had begun to increase. And children that did not even have confidence to speak, like, they could not even speak English, fine. Like, they could not even answer, how are you, fine. They started speaking it small. And at some point, when COVID came, I was taking them, like, every Saturday, just like that. I was taking them English, literacy and numeracy. So just basic English, learning how to read, and mathematics, addition, subtraction, ABC, simple things. And, I kept teaching them. And then, thank God for social media. I was sharing the story of the work that I was doing. And I was teaching them. The children were increasing because they live with face my face. So when they come today and give them biscuits, they will go back and tell everybody, they gave us biscuit, let's go for lesson. So the children started increasing. I was sharing, volunteers were coming, people were saying, okay, this is good, I would like to support. And so little by little, this thing started building up. And I remember I taught them from April 2019 to March 2020. And in March, COVID came. And when COVID came, everything dabaru, everything scattered because nobody could learn anything, nobody could come out, there was lockdown, so we all had to stay in our houses. Me too, I stayed in my house. And so in October again, when it was clear that everybody could go out and it was safe for classes to hold, we continued again. But when the students came back in October, everything I taught them from March to March, they had forgotten everything. Oh my God! Lockdown, everything had gone, and
how were you not discouraged at that point?
I don't think it was discouragement that fell upon me. I think it was wisdom. That was when it literally dawned on me that this is why children go to school every day. Because before then, I used to wonder, why do you stress these children? Why do you have to go to school every day? Yeah. And so that was when it dawned on me that that's why these children go to school every day. Because it takes everyday learning for things to stick and for them to learn things very well. And so I knew that this Saturday lesson cannot work again. But at that time, because I had started, I built that momentum. And there was that support. And I'm grateful to God for that. But at that time, I knew that could not work again. Let's transition out. But I didn't have the resources to start a school. Do you understand? I didn't have anything to start a school or to build something for them. But I knew that there were schools in that community. So instead of waiting until we have all the resources to start a school, education cannot wait. Let's do what we can do now. So I said, okay, we have a few donors. Can I reach out to them privately to say, this is where we are at. Can you sponsor a child to school? And so I started reaching out to the donors that had built over that 1 year period that started. And you know, most of them started saying that, okay, fine, what's the budget? Let me know. So I went to the school, I asked for a school bill, and the budget was not like in millions or even in thousands, like 200,000. It was not, the school bill was not worth 200K at that time. And so I said, okay, this is the budget. I gave them the bill, and then we started pushing the children there. So we started with one child just to test it. And when we tested with one child, we saw that, okay, this girl had improved. She was now speaking English very well. So the school was now building up on the foundation that had already laid for them. So they were speaking up very well. Within 6 months, like within 3 months, you see them like they're already speaking English. There was a particular girl that, I mean, all the while I worked with her, she never spoke English to me. But within 3 months of going to school, it was just like that confidence of, I'm in school. I've not been to school before. I'm in school. Like that happiness. And it was a private school. It was a very good private school at the time. And so we put all of them there, and we started enrolling them one step at a time. We started with one child, and we kept enrolling them one step at a time. And right now we have 52 children. And you know, at the point when we started with that, it was just 1 year. Okay, let's put the children in there. But at some point, I realized that when you put a child in school for 1 year, what happens the next year? Will you go and start looking for someone that will pay the school? So can we flesh out an agreement with these donors where they sign an agreement? I'm going to be here for you for 12 years. And I'm going to make sure that you have access to primary and secondary school education. So we got donors who were interested in doing that. And right now, we have those 52 children. And those children have their 12 years of education covered. And another thing is that right now, we have now been able to transition to our own school. Right? So right now, we have a facility of our own, like a list practice where children are learning. It's a safe, supportive space for them to learn. And all the things that we could not do at the time, even when we were working with those schools, we can now do it in full expression now. So even right now, I feel like even our vision is just coming out in full expression. But it started from managing in my dilapidated. If you see my classroom that time, we have potholes in the class. We have potholes in the class. And so it started from that dilapidated classroom with my blackboard and my white chalk and the dust over my head, and teaching those children to right now where we now have this our own school. And so it's just the journey of Talent Mind is just a testament to how important it is to start small. The thing that you think you are looking for, right, you will get it when you start. You won't move closer to it when you start. If I had said that, let me wait for a school before I start working with these children, number one, the lives of those children, I can't guarantee that it will be the same thing over. I mean, this is 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2019 since we started. So imagine me waiting from 2019 until now. But even now, it's a build-up of everything since 2019. So if I'd stayed put in 2019 and said, oh, I'm not doing anything until I have all the money that I need to build our own school and build a big facility and build all of that, I would never even build it, because it's like, okay, even right now, people are saying, what's the track record that you have that we can use? It's from that track record and story that we're using to now get support every single day. But then if I sat down and said, I don't have everything right now, so I can't do anything about it. So it's very important as a visionary that when you want to start, especially when you feel like you are young, because I remember at the time, I was still a teenager, right? So especially when you feel like you are very, very young, just start small. Just start small. Because sometimes those big, like waiting to start big can even be very overwhelming. But there's a small step that you can take right now if you see it. Right, if you can see it, just start from the little that you can see. It always opens up. It always opens up. But if you stay put in one place, then there's nothing to open up. It's just like you don't want to go through a process, but you want to arrive at a big result. How? So just start small with where you are, with what you have, with the resources you have. And just do the best you can do per time. Be faithful to the small that you're starting with. Small always gets big, but then you have to be faithful in doing it. That's where I'll stop.
No, this is really, really amazing, because I know that it's a really strong message to young women out there. Stop overthinking your dreams and your ideas. You will not get the full picture at the first instance. You have to start. and then it starts to unfold as you go. And really, your life is such an inspiration. And I'd like you to tell us about Talent Mind, right? What unique contribution would you say Talent Mind brings to the educational system in Nigeria? How is it different from other schools?
Yeah. So I would really say that's a good question, too. I really say that what makes talent mind different from other schools is that we are designing learning to be practical and usable. And so we don't want children that come to school and after they leave school, they can't use what they are learning in school, like it's gone. So I know even for me, the or even okay, let's say generally, right? There were some things that school did not teach us that are very important life skills that we didn't learn in school, even though they are very important. So think about self-esteem, self-confidence. And let me cite a very powerful example.
Right.
I remember I remember last year, we have a particular girl in our school right now. She is currently in secondary school, but we work with her from primary school till now. And she's in just one, yes, right now. And I remember in 2021, she got a scholarship. So a senior engineer at Twitter reached out, wanted to take a child through a coding program, and she was selected to attend the program. And so I remember her getting into the program, and the first day she got into class, it was a virtual classroom. I was sitting right beside her, but then her video was on, the other children were there. And the other children kept, they kept being expressive in class. They were talking, the teacher was interacting with them, they were talking, but this girl couldn't say anything. She was just looking. And the teacher would ask her questions directly. That's okay, what do you think about this? But she couldn't say anything because she didn't have any confidence. And the major reason why she felt that way, so the teacher kept asking, throughout the end of the class, she didn't say anything. And that was after she left the class. She didn't say anything. So because I was there at the end of the class, I asked her, like, why didn't you talk? I know you know this stuff, so why didn't you say anything? And then she was like, didn't you hear the accent of the children that were talking? So it's an agro coding program where, it's only the rich of the rich that can actually afford that kind of program for children. But then she was like, didn't you hear the English, the Igbo that they are speaking? I cannot speak that Igbo. And so if I talk, everybody start laughing at me. And so there was, first of all, there was a thing of self-esteem, right? Because at that point, she already feels like her background has disqualified her. The fact that she can't talk like those children, she does not have that accent, has disqualified her already. And I remember at the time, that was when we started our life skills program. And we developed a program where these children learn about self-esteem, they learn about self-confidence, emotional intelligence, they learn about social emotional learning, they learn about critical thinking, problem solving. And the aim of everything is so that when a child leaves our school, this child is able to apply, more than even applying what they learn in the classroom, right? They're able to be confident enough to know that my background is not a restriction to the person that I was destined to become. Yeah. So my background is not a determinant. It doesn't play a role at all. Instead, it's actually a propeller, because many of the problems that we have, they're in the grassroots. And so because they're in the grassroots, they are literally at the center and they are well positioned to actually solve that problem. But if these children are not empowered enough to solve the problem, then they will not be able to solve it. Then that cycle of poverty and wrong thinking, where they think that this background is a disadvantage, it will keep going on and on and on, because there's no reality that is showing that, my background is a propeller for me. But for us, we want to change that mindset and also empower them. So what are the skills and the tools and the resources that they need, the exposure that they need to see that I can do something about the problems that my community is facing? That's what we are doing. We are bridging that gap and giving them those skills and resources. So the mentorship that they need. So I think about our learning model at Talent Mind as a practical one, and one that is literally raising young leaders that can solve the problem that their communities are facing. And this is not theoretical, because we've tested it, right? Last year, May, we've had children who had gone through our programs, right? And these children have gone ahead to solve the problems that their communities are facing. And there are different problems that these children have faced. I remember there's a particular boy in our school right now, he's in primary 4, Abdullah. And I remember when Abdullah joined us in 2020, 2020. Yes, he joined us in 2020. And I remember one day he called me and it was like the children around him were laughing at him. They were calling him Omo Hausa because is that his Hausa? So he couldn't speak English fluently. But they were making jest of him, the children in his community. And so after we enrolled him, he started picking up, he started learning. At some point, he started reading and he started getting more and more confident. And last year, in 2022, yes, early last year in May, after Abdullah went through our life skills program, Abdullah went back to his community. And then he realized that they are still out of school. So he was an out of school children that was enrolled. And he was an out of school child, that was enrolled. And he knows how education has literally changed his life from that period in 2020 up to last year when he went back to his community and started thinking, what can I do to improve my community? And he realized that there were out of school children in his community. So what Abdullah did was that he now designed an academic mentorship program. So Abdullah's house is literally bigger than my house. So his friend live in a big house and there are different compartments of that house. But the compound is very, very, very spacious. And so what Abdullah did was that he would bring in those out of school children into his house. And, last week I had to give him a whiteboard because I said, you have a big space and you started an academic mentorship program for the children that you're teaching. So I gave him a whiteboard. And so since last year, even before this whiteboard came, so this is it. This is another starting small because this boy was using his notes before I gave him that whiteboard to go and start using, right? But then at the time, it would just, teach them, these children, basic maths and English, literacy and numeracy, because he has already gotten those skills because he has gone to school. And, he knows how it feels to not know how to read and how to write. And so he's also putting himself in their shoes. And that's empathy, which is something that we teach them.
Yes.
He's also putting himself in their shoes. That I remember that they laughed at me about it right now because I can read and write. And so he brought those children together and he has been teaching them basic maths and English since that time. And that's just one part of it. There are children that last year, I remember, it was this January, the children started complaining that there's been a lot of reckless driving and all that. And they started an advocacy program and they brought in cardboards and they wrote on that cardboard, there are other road users, be mindful of us. We are little children, be mindful of us. And they started going around the community, going where all these Korope guys stay, all these Kekemara guys stay. They carried their cardboards and they were saying, it's important not to drive recklessly. And this is the change. This is a chain of change that is coming, right? Because from our work, of course. But then it's from these children who are now learning that I can actually do something about the problem that my community is facing. And we've had children who have designed environmental sustainability projects where they will come together, and say, this community is very dirty. I can do something about it. They will get brooms and rakes and shovels, and they will clean up the entire community. And it will look as though it was an experienced professional that did it, but this was what these children are doing. And this is what we are raising them for, to solve the problems that their communities are facing. And so if we can move from one grassroots to another, because children are kind of the most overlooked population. People think they're so young and they can't do anything. They are vulnerable, they're helpless, they can't do anything. And there's a lot of focus on young people because they look bigger and older. But these children, if they're actually empowered, if you've met a sharp child before, then you will know that if the average child is actually empowered to solve the problem, then they would, because they are very, very eager to do so. But there's no attention that is given to them. And that's our own goal at Talent Mind, to shed light on these children and to give them the skills, the resources, to give them the tools, the right mindset that they need to see that these problems that my community is facing, I don't have to wait till I grow up or to have a position, a leadership position in that sense to solve it. I can be a young leader right now. And what makes me a young leader is deciding that I have everything that I need and starting small with what I have, with the friends that I have, with the group that I have to solve the problems that my community is facing. So we are making education practical and usable. And our work is directly linked to community engagement and development. How can we raise these children as young leaders to solve the problems that their communities are facing?
Wow. I'm feeling all kinds of emotions right now. this is so, so, so inspirational. And I believe that what you're doing is it's a revolution in the educational system in Nigeria. And I really celebrate all that you've done so far. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds eventually. You know, time just flew by. I lost consciousness of time. I could listen to you all day. But then this conversation has to come to an end. So we're just going to wrap up with one more question. You know, earlier I was talking about how I've seen it consistent in your life that you don't just brood over your ideas, you're quick to implement. And so I'd like to know what would you say is the mindset, the value and the beliefs that govern or that is behind your success so far?
So first of all, I mean, there's no way I'm going to have like this vision without God who placed it in my heart, and just moving based on
Yes.
the zeal that He has given to me, right? But something that I would say that I think that's helped me a lot, that is very important, is just having the right relationships around me, right? Just having the right support systems, starting from my parents, my husband, my friends, my team members, our board members at Talent Mind, and just everyone who supports and volunteers with us at Talent Mind. And so I think that relationship is like, if there's anything I'm going to mention, is the top of the list of it, right? There's no way that we would actually have gotten to this point in our work without the support of people, right? And I'm very, 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 very grateful for for the kind of people that God has blessed me with. Thinking also about the mentors and coaches that I have and the strong support system that I have. Yesterday was a very difficult day for me, right? It was such a difficult day for me, and that's because we are still, we're working on getting an approval process done with the government and all of that. And so I had to be up and down and everywhere, and it was really a stretchy day for me. But I remember at that point, coincidentally, my team members have put out a post about me yesterday, and I just kept getting support from people yesterday. And it was just so, interesting to see that, oh my God, if I didn't, these things were coincidences of these people just, reaching out to check in on me, my team member putting out a supportive and engaging and encouraging post about me. But then, while it was a coincidence, for me, it was a big deal, because at that point, I was almost asking myself, that who sent me this message like this? Right? Who sent me this message? But I'm very grateful for the support of people, right? I'm very, very grateful for the support of people. And I know that if God gives us a vision and He gives us work to do, He always surrounds us with the right people. And because these people have opened up, these people have been open to support, these people have been strong support systems for me, these people have been strong encouragers and advisors, for me and my work. That's why we're able to move with the speed and the light that we're able to move with right now. So the top of my list, honestly, would be, yes, God. I thank God for God, but God moves in men, and I'm grateful for the men that He has surrounded me with.
Wow. Wow. This is really, really, really so amazing. I am so, so inspired by your life, and I know that a lot of people watching and those who will be watching subsequently would really glean a lot of life lessons and insight, especially for young women out there, because you're really an embodiment of what the future forward female is about. And so thank you so much for coming, Aramide, and for sharing from your wealth of insight with us. For those watching, I want you to do something. I want you to post this on your various social media platforms along with an insight that stood out for you in this session. You can tag the Future Forward Female, you can tag Aramide. We'll be looking forward to seeing that. Thank you so much for joining this live. It was so amazing having all of you here today. Thank you so much, Aramide.
Thank you.
So,
thank you for
I'm going to be bringing this IG live to a wrap now. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye.
Bye.